Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of my writing series. Today we have this question here. Some people think that men and women have different qualities. Therefore, some specific jobs are suitable for men and some for women. To what extent do you agree or disagree? I think last time as well we had an opinion essay, and this time as well. I mean, they're pretty common, so what can you really do? But it's a great question. A lot of people, when they read something like this, they're gonna think that, oh, I don't want the examiner to think that I'm sexist, or bigoted in some way. But that's not the case. Express whatever you feel. They don't care if you agree or disagree. So don't be afraid of expressing what you really feel, because everyone has their own opinion. An opinion can never be right or wrong. So, especially with somewhat controversial questions like these, because most people would generally be like, that women can do anything men can do. And, it's just the general narrative. Which, of course, if you set your mind to something, you can do whatever you would like for the most part. But, everybody has their own point of view. I would probably say that in my view, it's probably appropriate for some jobs to just be not reserved, not to say that you should exclude men and exclude women from certain jobs, but naturally, there are, for example, mining. You don't have women working in mining a whole lot. It's a very, very arduous job, and it's like mostly men. Of course, there's also certain areas in the military, for example, in most countries, women don't work in active combat. It's usually men that do. And there's actually a lot of reasons for that. So I would personally say, yes, I agree, there are some jobs which are better suited. That doesn't mean that you say no man or no woman should be allowed to do a certain kind of job. It's just a way of saying, yes, it's true that there are some differences, and that, okay, well, that depends. You might have a different opinion. You might say, no, um, there's no such thing. And the only thing that really matters is the quality of your argument, the quality of your reasons, right? If you say, no, I disagree, men and women can do the same jobs, all you really need is a good set of reasons. That's all that's important. Okay, so whatever opinion you have, don't worry about it. Okay, don't fake an opinion. That's like super important, because a lot of times people will be like, I want to write something that's gonna look nice, even if that's not my real opinion. And then they kind of, find it difficult to even write something like that. So just stick with what you believe in. There's no marking for how, common your opinion is, or how, politically correct it is. Things like that don't really matter, so don't worry about them. And if I'm talking weird, it's because I've got braces on, so I'm still getting used to it. Okay. Okay, so what do I do first? I usually write I get the main ideas first. I'm gonna do that. That's what's easiest for me. You might have, a different opinion. You might prefer writing your introductions. When we teach our students writing, it's a mixed bag. Some people will write their main ideas first, and then their supporting ideas, and then they'll write their introduction. But then some people will prefer writing the introduction first and then doing all their ideas. Whatever works for you, there's no right or wrong. So main idea one, number two. I'm gonna agree, so I'm gonna say, for example, there are physiological is just another word for saying biological, physical, relating to the body, the human body. And what else? Like, for example, uh, something I just read. I mean, I don't know the exact statistics, so I'm not going to quote any stats, but for example, upper body strength, that's a fact. So if you've got a job where Let's say you have to do a lot of lifting, like if you work in a warehouse, you have to lift heavy pallets. That's a job that a man probably would do better, as in take less time, and workplace injury risk probably also is lower if you hire a man rather than hiring a woman for the same job, because they just have more upper body strength, women have more lower body strength, right? And then there's also in terms of it makes sense for society to, again, the question here is not should men be prevented from doing certain jobs and should women be prevented from doing certain jobs. So it's not about banning any gender. Society to and again, usually certain professions and careers. I mean, in education, for example, most teachers are female, most babysitters are female. It's just something they naturally gravitate. It's their own choice. Many men want to work in the army, work, in the navy, for example. It's just, again, there's so many psychological, physiological, differences. No two men are the same, no two women are the same. But again, you can't really say, okay, why do men not choose to become babysitters, right? Or teachers. I mean, many men do, but it's still, you really can't compare psychologists and teachers and babysitters and things like that. It's just women really gravitate towards these professions. Yeah, maybe they enjoy the work, right? Different kinds of people. I mean, that's not to say that there's no women in the army, for example. There are, in fact, quite a lot. But yeah, to what extent do you? Because I agree that they have different qualities. To enforce diversity quotas. Like, for example, a lot of companies will have like kind of a rule, that okay, we're gonna ensure that 50% of our workforce, or 30%, 10%, 15%, whatever, is composed of a few minorities or women, or women with kids, for example, whatever. Is it really fair? You could even reverse the genders, really. It's not even a men versus women thing. It's just is it really fair to, you know, not consider a man for a job just because you have a diversity quota and you want to hire women, right? There's this whole push nowadays that, oh, more women need to be in STEM. Who's banning them? We're living in 2023. Women are not banned from university. They're not banned from in most countries. Of course, I'm not talking about like Afghanistan or something. You get the point. But you can do whatever you wanted. You can study computer science, whatever you want to do. No one's stopping you. It's just that the women themselves make a choice. I mean, I, for example, had the choice to go to law school, but I didn't really want to pursue that. It was like too, just not really my idea of like the kind of work I would enjoy doing. So yeah, people make choices. Men do as well. Like you could just, think, okay, well, why don't you just, for example, instead of, going into the military, why don't you just do something else like sales or something? But it's up to the person. They will do what they like, right? So it's kind of like, it's also unfair. Don't like force diversity, right? Like if most salespeople are men, it's just what they like doing. If women are not really, for example, choosing to work in engineering or computers, which is not true. I mean, I know a lot of women who work in IT, but just as an example, I mean, it is still largely male dominated. And it's not that men are not allowing women to work or something, not at all. It's just a choice, right? So it makes little sense. And with women, again, it's also the fact that no matter where you are, of, you know, most responsibilities in terms of taking care of children when you're married, when you have kids, a lot of that responsibility just naturally falls to the woman biologically, of course. Men don't get pregnant, men don't give birth, men don't really, they don't have that kind of, connection in terms of nurturing a child with your body. So, I mean, you have to take time off work. You really can't engage yourself. Most women wouldn't, like most women would choose not to, do the kind of work that would be very, very demanding and take time away, from their family, kids, and so on. Many do, but not all, right? Very few do, in fact. But a man, of course, is not really affected. I mean, yes, you have a change in status, you from just being a single person to becoming a father. There is, of course, a huge change. You have a lot more responsibility, a lot more pressure, and you think, okay, now I have to provide for my, family. There's definitely a lot of pressure in terms of having to make money, but it's not the same. It's different responsibilities, right? Different burdens, right? But that doesn't push men out of the workforce, but that does push women out of the workforce when they have kids, for example. Not because people are not giving them jobs, but because they just have, a greater responsibility waiting for them at home. So again, these are all natural choices. You cannot change biology. Still need a good third idea. I talked about upper body strength. I've talked about, oh yeah, of course, they can, for example, dangerous professions. Um, Also, I had a point about the government. Just as an example, like we have a war going on right now. Women, are they really fighting? Are they allowed? Really? Not really. Of course, the situation can change anytime. In World War II, women fought. Of course, they had no choice. It was quite brutal. But that's like that's something you do at the like, you don't have any choice left anymore. They're like, okay, the women can go fight, right? But that's like a last resort because, from an economist's point of view, from the government's point of view, it makes sense to have as many women as possible just safe, essentially, because a woman can produce children, right? If you have a lot more men, then you have a lot more women. I mean, a man can't have kids, right? And so you have one woman, that woman can produce a lot of children, and that's a lot more beneficial for a government, because the more people you have, the more taxpayers you have, the more money you get, the more money can be invested into projects, infrastructure, building the country. So women are a resource for governments. I know that sounds very weird, but I'm just, speaking from that perspective, that okay, we need, because if the birth rate goes down, then we have bigger problems. If people are not really having enough children, then you need to think, okay, well, how are we going to pay people's pensions? How are we going to keep this country running? Because if we have less people, we have fewer taxpayers. Where are we going to get money for all of our programs for building the country? We're going to have to then increase immigration, which is easy to fix, because you create an immigration program. You're like, okay, let's invite smart people from all over the world. That's great, but again, it takes a little bit of time, right? Because they need to integrate. It takes at least a few years, because they also need to, you have to take care of educational qualifications, and then there's, of course, cultural differences, and it takes time to get used to things. So that's solution, but it's not a solution that that's like primary. Like you always try and kind of most countries around the world will always try and ensure that our birth rate doesn't really fall. So for that reason, women are kept away from really dangerous jobs, like in the army, for example. Many countries have conscription. They don't really conscript women, except for Israel. For some reason, Israel does conscript women, but again, it's not like they're sending them to active battle zones or something. So yeah. And then gender ratio is natural. And then what else? Here you go. Okay. Like for example, a teacher in a school. You are home by like 4 p.m., 5 p.m. or something, and you get holidays for summer. And it's very kind of, kid friendly in a way, um, family friendly in a way. Again, that's just a choice. I'm not saying all women become teachers, of course not, but it's something that you see a lot. Meanwhile, men will often take up, higher paying, demanding jobs because they know that, they have to provide financially. It's just people naturally gravitate towards these roles. Sometimes they're externally forced. Yes, that's also true. Many couples don't really have traditional gender roles anymore, but that's a very modern thing. Like most marriages, relationships, etc., still have this classic role being played out, and so that's why they, you know, gravitate towards certain jobs. Sometimes women might not even have a job. Because, of course, that's again could be a choice, could be forced. Now, that of course depends. You don't really have to go into so much detail because it's just a 250-word essay. Okay, then my introduction. All right. Although, much social. Um, general trend and increasing pressure. Denied or um even in the current year. I just start typing and ideas just come pouring out. I don't necessarily think when I'm writing. Again, I'm typing, so I can always change things, so it's not really a problem for me. If you're handwriting, of course, things can be quite different. despite the general trend and increasing pressure with belief to ignore the fact, rather, have. There we go. That's a good introduction. Okay. Then my main idea. Okay, I'm gonna have to check upper body strength is a real thing. If you have lifting, mining, etc., these kinds of jobs, a woman could mine. No one's saying that you can't do mining if you're a woman. However, you're going to be less productive, and naturally, if let's say, I have a mining company and I hire like 100 men, 100 women, and I'm seeing over time that, hey, I'm paying these people the same salary, but the men are outworking the women, even though they're both working like, let's say, 8 hours, but the men are producing a lot more, output. So naturally, I'm going to gravitate towards, hiring men rather than hiring women. Because again, it's just a thing. I mean, if I go to the gym, if you have I can do the same workouts that a man would do. I would simply not have the same results a man would, it just doesn't work that way. That's biology, I think. Hmm. I think this is good. The order is fine. Okay, so I'll take this. um hmm. Women have testosterone as well. It's just that they have them in really, really small amounts, unless you have some kind of hormonal disorder, which makes them. Many. This sounds very cold and dry when you say, workers, but it's a fact. So, yeah. Replenish the population. Keep the country. What's that? Total fertility rate is this got too big. Okay. Anyway, so and then the next one. Although there has been a lot of by law or policy. It's not like there's a law that says, oh, a teacher can only be a woman, right? There's no law that says that. But yet, still, even today, you have most, for example, kindergarten teachers, that it's even more rare for a man to be a kindergarten teacher, right? There is no law that says only women can do that, but it's just what they gravitate towards. Then differences. Oops, this should actually be here. Okay, there we go. And finally, my conclusion. So, in conclusion, are done. I mean, in the past, 150 years ago, uh, those differences would have been unnatural, like forced, right? Because women were not allowed to study. You couldn't go to university as a woman. You couldn't do certain jobs. You couldn't, for example, work in a factory or whatever. Only men were allowed. Only men were allowed to go to university, etc., etc. But now in the modern world, it's no longer a an artificially created difference. Okay, I was supposed to look at my main ideas: physiological differences and natural jogging. Created these surpluses, and well, no, if people were forced to, like, if you, let's say, you can't really force someone to do a job. That just doesn't happen, like in most countries, of course, not talking about exceptions. But hmm, mm, progressive and equitable. Not equal, but equitable. course. There we go. There's the whole essay from start to finish. Let's see. That's the introduction right here. You can pause and, read it. We have body paragraph 1. I no longer apologize for the length of my body paragraphs. I know they're huge. I just have so much to say. And I'm guessing that you can get a lot of good ideas. So why not? I'm not going to hold back in terms of size. There's the second body paragraph. And there's the conclusion. Here we go. Let's see the total word count. Oh, wow, 509. That's a lot. But I just had a lot to say. So yeah, there we go. That's all for today, and I'll see you next week. I also have a book launching on the 23rd. I'll put up more details. Maybe I'll just do a little video explaining things on the 20th or something. It will be available for purchase on Amazon worldwide. So yeah, all these essays, what I've done is I've added vocabulary exercises, changed a few things to make it, more fun for you. So yeah, I hope you'll find that useful. Thanks for tuning in. By the way, if you're watching, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, subscribe. It really helps to, get these videos out to more people so they can get more ideas. Again, if you've done that, if you subscribed and like, thanks a lot. I really appreciate every single comment, every single like, every single subscription. It means a lot to us. So thank you and good night, or wherever if you're living elsewhere, if you're watching this during the daytime.